G'day and welcome back to my channel. Photo-etch, yes, it can look really nice and improve the appearance of your model, but sometimes it can be such a stressful thing to add to the kit. So, I'd like to show you how I accomplished this upgrade. The Panther, this is the Dragon Panther, 1/35 scale, and how I managed to keep most of my hair while doing it. There are ways to get through your Photo-etch without it driving you totally insane. So, do you want to find out about that? Great! Roll the music! So here's one side of the Photo-etch done. And if you've been watching on Facebook, follow me there, or even on my Patreon page, big shout out to my Patreon supporters. You really help me improve my channel and I appreciate your support. So if you're not a Patreon member already, because you get early videos, you get ad-free videos, you get a lot of background stuff that you're not going to see on this channel. So think about supporting Patreon. There's a push button at the end of this video, or you can have a look on the page, it'll be in the description. Now, the Photo-etch here, well, you'll notice that's Tamiya tape. And that's because here's a case where the Photo-etch didn't work. When I went to put that part on, the Photo-etch self-destructed. So it doesn't always do what it's supposed to do. And you know, it depends. Maybe it's my skill levels, maybe it's my fumbling fingers, who knows. But sometimes Photo-etch can be a real pain in the butt. So what I hope to show in this video is my method of approaching Photo-etch and how I decide, is a part worth doable? Can I be bothered putting on these tiny little class and fiddly things? Is there an easier method? At what point do I say, no, that part's too small? And I'll show you how I accomplished this much work. And we will go through all of the steps that I took to get the Photo-etch on this side, which was a little more complicated. All right, let's get on with that. Now this tiny little rack cuts out nicely from the Photo-etch, and it's fairly easy to fold all the pieces into place. They follow exactly the instructions. So if you do what the instruction says, fold here, turn there, it's pretty obvious. There's a couple of round sections here, and all I did was I rolled them, and I rolled them round this round file. So they stuck out a bit further and it indicated they rolled up. I've left them not tight, but still fairly open, so that when I get the tools in, I can do the final squash into place. And you do that with anything, any brackets you might put on there. Don't do them up fully tight, of course, because you've got to have wriggle room to get your parts in. There's a little part here that folds over that way. This one folds up as a little box. That's quite easy. You just simply do it with the tweezers. Now, there's one here at the end, which I was holding with before. Top here, here's one that I haven't done, so I'll just show you. These are relatively easy. You've got to be careful not to distort this part. If you do that, your bugger, it won't sit flat on the vehicle. So holding it very, very gently, you'll find there is a tiny line. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it there? It's a tiny little line marked, and there's always a score. And everyone's very good at this. So on that score, it will naturally bend in the direction. So if you can see the score line, you bend towards yourself. So there we go. So that's a tiny little bend there. So that is that part. And what I've got to do now is just clean up the front side here of the hull, and then we can glue that on. Now to do the other side, first thing I need to do is remove the top pieces. It'll be easy to work on. Because one thing I've left until now, which really I should have done earlier on, was get rid of the brackets that are moulded into the frame, or the upper hull here. And there's no easy way about this. You can grind it, you can squeeze it, you can flick it, you can do whatever you like. There's whatever. I kind of like just cutting them out with a knife. I must say this knife is getting a bit blunt. But just essentially almost cut them first, just by running the knife parallel, so I get the worst of it off. And then scrape. And that's just about gone. Just about gone. All I need to do is have a light sand and see what I've got. It's not too bad. Now you see I've scraped and sanded and cleaned away as best I can the previous bracket marks there. They're a bit of raised plastic. I've left a little bit here so that I know where to start, because that was pretty well, that was correct. So that X there matches perfectly with what I've already done. So I know I've got to look for that. So bring the part over. I know that's where I've got to start. So if I match that up, so that's probably where it's going to go. So I'll now cement that into place. Now it's got all its folds, and that is basically scraped clean. As you can see, by the time you put the rack on, you can hardly see the ones that we sanded away. It all just disappears. Now while that rack is drying into place there on the hull, we'll talk about tools. Now these are the ones that are in this Imperial Series kit, and they are, well, they're okay. They're a bit soft. Of course, all the clamps are moulded on them, and you know, you get away with them if you wanted to. You could do it, you know, basically out of the box, do it exactly as they say. But I wanted something a bit better because I knew I had the extra tools. And I've actually got two sets. I mean, rummage around my old Dragon kits. Lucky enough to have some Dragon kits here that have always got extra sprues in. Now the sprue J is the one to look for. Usually has a Pioneer tools. Now these are some, they've already got the brackets on. They're a lot sharper. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but believe me, they're a lot crisper, they're a lot sharper. You could put these straight onto that Photo-etch bracket, they look fine. All the little clasps, they're all hollowed out, they look really nice. But the purposes of this video is to show you doing it with PE. So I've got another J sprue, surprisingly, both called J, and these have no clasps on them. I've already used a number of the tools, so I'll do the other side. So these ones are completely free. So like the pick there, by the time you cut it out, there's nothing. There's no clamps on it, there's nothing. The shovel, we're going to use the axe. The axe will go on to this front section. We'll use one of the fire extinguishers. Surprisingly, they give you two. They give you one with a whole lot of parts added and one that's fairly clean. So we might look into that and see which one suits our needs better. Possibly there's two different types. We'll soon find out. There's not much else I can use off that, especially there's a whole lot of other tools that need to be put on here. We'll come to that shortly, but I've actually made the decision to use some of the old parts because actually they weren't bad at all. And that's sort of what I will do. I will weigh up, like with the Photo-etch, is it easy? Is it worth doing, or is it going to drive me insane? Does it improve the model? Is it really worth doing? And unless all these questions are yes, and you know it's going to make a difference, it's worth doing, it'll look better, it's something that yes, it's within my skill set and I can do it, and yeah, you know, why bother? Why make life hard for you? So we'll just add a few brackets now. That should be set. Yep, that's set in place. Doesn't take long here. So yeah, with that now in place, so you can't even see the previous rack that was basically just a bit of raised plastic on the moulding. It's all disappeared. And we've got this lovely shiny brass one. It won't stay shiny, of course, but that's going to be very nice for us to mount our tools. So let's start that. Now, one of the first tools to put in will be this little, I think it's like a starter handle or something. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like what you'd use to start the motor. I could be wrong. Someone will tell me, no doubt. Now, it's going to fit into one of those little loops that I've already sort of gently folded, not all the way, and then it will go up through, and then this little piece here, which also is a fold over, it'll click into that. It'll pretty well sit there in place without anything really, but there is a clamp that we'll need to put on if we're going to be faithful to the look, and they show you the Dragon part there with the clamps on and show you what needs to be removed. Well, we're lucky, none of those things need to be removed with my part. I've got an easy job of it because my part's clean. Now this little handle here, it should just about dry fit into place here, as it only has to slide into that little thing. Of course it went perfectly on rehearsal. Yep, there we go. And through it goes. That could be glued into place now, and that's fine, you know, that's fine. But they're calling for a little clasp here, which is handy because it's right over this spot here, which has to be just the point it broke when it came off the sprue. I don't know how, don't know if I did it, but this part managed to break. Same thing happened with my shovel on the other side, but there you go, that's what happens. Now there's two schools of thought. You could put the clamp on the bracket behind and then try and fit the part like I've done now. You put the part in and then draw the pieces of the clamp over and away you go. That can work as long as you're absolutely 100% sure that's the spot and that's the angle, and in my experience it doesn't always work. I've found it's far easier to actually put the clamp on the part, even if it's a little bit loose and it can slide around, and have it glued together there ready to go, and then when you put the part into place you can kind of adjust the clamp the position you want, cement everything in. So we'll do that method. The clamps I'll need are here, part 66, and then there's a bigger one here, 67, which gets used for the little axe. So I'll need to cut one of these off. Now be careful when you pull these off, because this bit looks like it's just a bit of like a former to hold in place. It's not. You need that whole piece, because that becomes the ring, the little tightening and pulling ring, like the buckle if you like, that holds the clamp in place. So yeah, we'll need that, and keep attached to that, and be careful because it's so easy to snap it off, which I have done, and then you have to try and figure out how to glue it back on when there's tiny little joints. It's yeah, it's not fun. So let's see if we get that off clean, and then we'll start folding. So I'll deal with this fragile bit first, make sure it's free, and then I'll sever the ends here. There we go. I won't be using my folding tool because it's too small and you will wreck it. The only way I know how to do this is with some tweezers. And what we do is we'll look at the diagram, and they give you the instructions back on the previous page of how they fold. So this is obviously the join, and then these are all the fold lines. So the one towards the middle is a square area. That's going to be the part that sits flat. So that's flat there. Everything folds up and around from that one. Again, I don't know if you can see this. Just take my word for it. So what you do is you need to get under one end. Sometimes the easiest way I find to do that is put the thing on your finger, hold it, and then go back down. Now the fold lines are all there, so you've just got to find that fold line, and away you go. So that's one, that's folded up. These other two then fold up as well. Once you've got one little fold line in, the rest aren't too hard. So folds up again. Well, you can actually see that. The bracket actually is now fold. Now the last fold is a piece that goes over, and we won't do that because that'll hold it all. That's literally the lid that goes down, and the little handle too. So we have to do those on the part. So now we'll need our part with our tiny bracket now sitting on its base, because we know that's where it should be. Drop the part into it as best we can, and then we're going to bend the lid down into position. And yes, it is kind of fiddly. Alright, that's basically it. And then we just need to fold the little bracket, well, the buckle if you like. So the buckle folds round. What we can do is slightly sharper tweezers to do this, but you can still do it this way. Once you've done a couple, you sort of know what's going to happen. And as long as you're gentle, you don't rush it. I am by no means an expert at these. Right, that's it. That's close enough. It's a tiny little thing, isn't it? So there it is. It's loose because I will do the final pushing into place once I glue it. But because if I knew it was like exactly perpendicular to the pipes there, I could set it and glue in place. But this is going at a funny angle, around a funny angle. Well, I might leave that loose until we put it on there, and then I'll basically put the CA glue in, see where it falls, and then click every part down. So we'll do that now. That's how it should look. So what I'll do now is I'm going to put a couple of dabs of CA glue in the spots where it's got a hole, probably here and here first. And so I know that's locked in position. And then I can probably put a dab of CA glue in there, and I'll be able to push those and lock those parts in. But there you go, isn't it? It's quite nice when it's in, but yes, it is fiddly, and they're all like that. Now my CA glue goes onto this little teak handle here. For some reason, I haven't quite worked out the chemistry. It tends to stay liquid or fluid for much longer by doing it this way. So I'll need a little dab of CA glue in here, and I'll need a bit around here, slopping it everywhere. So we'll do those two first. Now all I need to do is add a little bit of CA glue in here. See if I can drag that clamp over without knocking everything flying. And there is the final result. That's my clamp. Now, it's not perfect. It's as good as my eyes can do. You should try and get that little thing around a bit further, but I can't. But I've got my little buckle up. I like them sitting proud like that. Some people fold them forward. I think they probably should be not quite as obtuse as that, but I like them like that. Because if you go to all this trouble to put all this crap on, well, you might as well see it. So there we go. That one's in. That one's cemented. I've just got about 3 or 4 to go. And with the little axe, I know the clamp is going to go exactly here, and I know that's horizontal on the tank. So on the little frame of the tank, that will sit horizontal. So I know that's where it's going to go. So I can even do a little test try fit. I did one before. It again slides in a little loop here, which I've got nice and loose. And a little box that was made, it sits in that, and it seems to overlap the little starter rod there. So that's how that sits. So what I've got to do now is I haven't closed down my little clamp, and I haven't raised up a fold around the buckle, so I'll do that now. CO glue in here, a little bit in here. Now there will be smears and there will be drips, but a lot of it you can sand off later or you can remove. It's really not that hard. And a lot of it you'll never see. So, that's sitting in its little thing. That's folded over. I won't mess with it any further. I think that's about it. This might roll up a bit more, but I had trouble with that before. I really didn't want to roll any further. I don't really want to break anything. So I have my little buckle, I have my clasp. It's all very nice, and that's sitting very nice. It has a little tray that it sits in. Make sure it's nice and firm. There we go. And don't play with it anymore, Harry. So already we're building up our tools, and it just takes some patience, and you know, just take your time. Probably need to fettle a little bit with that buckle there, and I might put a bit of CO glue on it, but I'll let this set first. Do one thing, do the next thing. It's really good if you can actually glue the back of the buckle onto the tool before you even get to this stage, because as you saw there, it was a lot easier to bend and settle the pieces before you actually mount it on to the frame. Now the fire extinguisher is probably one of the most complex folds here, and you've really got to get your head about it. You've got to sort of have a look what's going on. There's obviously a fold up here, which is a bracket that's going to hold the front of it. There's straps, and that's straps. They're going to roll around and they click together with a clasp. There's heaps of other brackets. I don't know if I'm going to go that far, and there's a tiny piece here that's going to probably be beyond me, but I think I can fold this shape. So let's have a look at it, and you've really got to work this out, because at first glance it doesn't look right. So you can see fold lines straight away there and there. Okay, but that's not the box. So you've got to, and the straps are marked on this side, which is a detail you want to see. So that needs to be outside, which means the cylinder of the extinguisher will have to go in here. And when you do look in here, you see there's the fold lines. So it's always worth examining the part and seeing where the fold lines are marked. Remember, the fold lines always fold in towards you. When you can see them, it folds up towards you. So yes, that's going to fold up. That's going to fold over. And our little part, see if I can pick it up, get it in there. So our extinguisher sits in there, like so. It's not going to cooperate. Now it sits in there, and it has a little pushed out piece that this folds around, and the tail end part of it, this bracket here actually folds back in a very strange way. We'll figure that out when we get there. But the most important part is the buckles and the straps. They must be visible, so they will roll up and over this way. All right, let's put that together. Cross fingers. So it's best to use something like a razor blade, or you can use your knife. In fact, in this case, this blade's getting fairly blunt. I don't mind if I wear it out on this job. And you hear the click. When you do it this way, you hear a nice resounding click. Probably should have cut it this way, because it's a lot easier to see. Yep, the ends are marked. Okay, that part is free. Now, as I say, those straps and buckles we want to see. So they must be on the outside. So the first thing we need to do is flip this over. But this thing here is weird. Those fold that way. All right, we'll do that first. They fold backwards. A bit annoying. Doesn't seem to make much sense. But we'll bend them. It may become apparent later. Again, we're trying so hard not to distort the rest of this. Sometimes it's best to get it down. So maybe that pushes it up. I don't know. It sort of seems silly because it'll be in the way, but oh well, we'll get to that. Now this little box here, it's fairly easy to fold. You can see exactly what needs to be done. without wrecking the whole thing. So it's so hard not to distort these parts. The folding tool is good sometimes, but honestly this is so little that you put the folding tool in and I find the folding tool tends to wreck the part. At least that's my experience. Maybe it's just the way I fumble everything. Okay, so we've folded up that box. So we've got a box there and that box folds up again like so. So that is an end for this. Yes. Okay, so that's fitting into there. That's good. I imagine this tail end probably comes up. What I might do now is CA glue this in position, and it's going to be a lot easier to fold the straps. So that CA glue I put down there probably 20 minutes ago is still wet and active. That's been sitting in my my little tea cozy, tea light or whatever you call it. So that's definitely a trick, because I mean normally I would have had to get the CA glue out every 5 minutes. It'd be drying here, but by using that trick, my little dab of CA glue lasts and lasts and lasts. There we go, do a bit of persuasion, but it's in. So that's on there, ready to go for all the rest of the folding. Is it on nice and straight? Well, straight enough. It's just about set, my CA glue, so that's good. It looks like that silly triangular thing just kind of rolls around the back there. Who knows? It doesn't make much sense to me. And that should be sitting nice and square on there. Okay. So now these little straps, they'll actually just roll up into place. By having this CA glued to its spine, it's a lot easier to work with because you've got some sort of purchase point. Because you imagine if you're trying to do all this, well, it's all loose, you have a problem. So do our buckles match up? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. It's lovely. Okay, so to get those into place now, I'm going to use the tiniest bit of CA glue under there. And again, any of my splodges I can probably scrape off or sand out later. And there we go, those little buckles are finally in place. It is so tiny. It's such a little thing, but they do look nice. They're on. I ended up sacrificing whatever that silly thing on the end here was. It just wasn't working for me. I'm happy with that as enough PE enhancement to make this look better. And that'll do. There's other parts there, they're too tiny. I can't do them. But that nice little set of straps and buckles, that looks good. I'll now assemble this onto the tank. So my photo etch is finally all on the kit, and I'm very happy with how that's turned out. Very, very pleased with this section here, how all these tools overlap and fit together. And I've got on the little jack box there. There's a little rack there, which I didn't think I'd actually build out of the photo etch. There is a plastic part in the kit, and I compared it, and then I had a look and went, well, maybe I can do it. I actually used the plastic part of the kit to form the curves around there. So it wasn't that hard after all. Sort of, once you're on a roll and you've done a few and you've sort of got through the worst of it and your fear's over, you tend to tackle more and more stuff with the photo etch. Also, you know, when you see a part and you go, oh yes, that's no way I'm going to fit that together. It's too small, it's too difficult. No. So that's the thing. You learn your limits, but you also improve your skills. So that's the thing. Going into the photo etch with, I'm only going to do the minimum, right? And you just do the simple stuff, you gain more confidence and your skill level grows. And then actually you start to do the ones that are a little more difficult, a little more complicated, but you've already got past your fear factor and your skill level's up. So away you go. So this rack here, this took a little mucking around. I don't know if it was really worth it. The plastic part was quite good. But by this stage, I thought I'd have a go at it. So there's Photo-etch here that locks in that hammer, and there's Photo-etch class all the way through. It really wasn't that hard. I probably took about an hour making that. But then again, you could glue the plastic part in 1 minute. It's up to you. I think in the end, it just depends what you want to do. What do you want to spend your modelling time on? And for this kit, I wanted to do the Photo-etch. I wanted it to have the full upgrade. And by accomplishing my goal and getting all the Photo-etch on, I've got a really good feeling. You know, I feel great. I know it'll all get covered up with paint and hardly anyone's going to see it, but that doesn't matter. I accomplished my goal, I got the Photo-etch on, and I know I made this model better. And that's it. At the end of the day, it's really your level of expectation, what you want to do. Bugger everyone else. Just do what makes you feel good and enjoy your hobby. Okay? That's my advice anyway. All right, well, next we'll be doing some painting. But that's it from now. So it's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini.